4:00. We'll get our workshop meeting started. I'm Mayor Staley. Welcome to Washington City Hall. We're here in the council chambers for a workshop meeting with only one agenda item. We are not having our regular meeting this evening. Today is a pretty special day. I know all of you have been reflecting back and remembering 9/11/01, 23 years to the day. I think we all kind of remember where we were on that. So it's kind of one of those somber days, but it's also one of those days that makes you feel proud to be an American and remember the unity and appreciate those who sacrifice and serve our community. Appreciate our public safety, Chief Evans there in the back, Fire Department, Chief Williams somewhere, and Police Department. Council, on that note, I'll just remind you that since it is Patriot Day 9/11, City of St. George, we support them on Patriot Day. They're having their event at 6:30 p.m. this evening at Town Square. We also have a local small, it's our post 9/12. They're having a small flag retiring ceremony here this evening as well. So if we are not done well before 6:30 p.m., something is very wrong. Council, I'm going to turn to you now for an approval of the agenda as outlined.
So made, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Ivey.
Second.
Second by Councilman Coates. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Our one and only item, and this is a little bit less formal than normal. Appreciate some of our Planning Commission members being here tonight. Appreciate staff being here tonight. But this is a workshop session where we are going to hear we're going to hear from, and we're going to be presented with some of the proposed changes that will come through the entitlement process of what has historically been called Stuckey Farms, which is a master plan development on the south end of the city. It's under new ownership. The development rights have been purchased. It's being rebranded as Alea, and I see the owners here this evening, Sean Colarusso, McKay Christensen, and Todd Amberry. So want to welcome them and invite them to come forward and present to the council. Once they're done presenting, or even during it at some point, I'll give the Planning Commission an opportunity to share their thoughts and ask questions. And then council, I want you to be able to just kind of speak a little more freely. I mean, we did threaten no ties tonight will be cut off, and it was is the city attorney not on that text thread? All right, we'll let it.
As much as you'd like.
Don't feel bad. I had mine.
So who's?
I'll let you cut my tie and you keep me off the text thread.
All right. McKay, are you going to present on this or? Absolutely.
Thanks, Dad. See if we get this pulled. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's McKay Christensen. My group, Sean Colarusso, Todd Amberry, Mike Uzelak. You guys more than welcome to come up here because I will, we anticipated that we'd be in a little bit more relaxed setting where those guys can chip in wherever we need it. But as you guys know, we've acquired Stuckey Farms. And as a part of acquiring Stuckey Farms, we really want to come in and do a rebrand and a refresh. It's been a long time since the development began, and we think that it needs some aspect of that. And so really what we've done is, and it took us about a year and a half or so to acquire the property. So during that time, we had a lot of time to get together with our marketing team, advertising, land planners, and everybody, and take a really deep dive into how it is that we think that we can improve this and really turn it around. That's been the goal, is to change the trajectory of what the development is. In order to do that, we felt like we needed to bring something that was an entirely different offering, something that is totally different than anything that is, in the community, but what we've come up with is something that is totally different than anything that's in the state, and honestly, it's dramatically different than anything that's in the country. And so as a part of that, that's kind of what we want to go through today. And then it's in concept, we want to share with you what our plans are. And then we'll then submit the PCD amendment, which has all of the technical stuff, which, when we have more time, we can go through all of that. But really today, we just wanted to get across the concepts behind what it is that we're doing and get your feedback on how it can improve. Like, what things do you like? What things do you not like? And how it is that we can improve. We have, between the four of us, we have a long history of doing master plan communities. We've done large ones, very big ones in the state, 3,000 plus acres. We know in order to make those things be a success, we have to have one-of-a-kind destination amenities, one-of-a-kind destination retail, and you've got to have architectural design guidelines and all of those things that make it a cohesive development. We've really taken a long time to try to put that together here and have it be reflected in this. And so we'll get into it. So as a part of, yeah, Thad. Oh, that's okay. I'll use my computer. And gentlemen, jump in if there's anything that you need to, feel we need to correct or contribute. So the name is Alea. And these are just some of our initial kind of marketing and branding ideas that we've come with. And really, it centers around the name. Alea is a Hawaiian name, and it's a girl's name, means joy, and is also the name that they used to call wooden surfboards, like when surfing first began in Hawaii. They used to call them an Alea. So this is what we would call our preliminary site plan. I'm going to zoom in on this because there are elements of this, looking at this static piece of paper, it's going to take a little bit of time to digest. But most everything that you see kind of in the yellow in this upper portion, as you know, is this is already developed in through here.
So McKay, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and maybe you're getting to this. I know that in your purchase, I heard, it might be not true, but that Stuckey, the original owners held portions of it left, and you acquired some. Can you outline that for us?
Yes, and we'll put, if that's something you guys are interested in, we'll put together an exhibit that shows what was retained and what is obtained.
It's important to me, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
Just we understand.
But
Do you have
I might be able to pull the exhibit up, and when I do, I'll tell you.
Okay. It really is not much at all. Basically, everything that is not developed, the only thing that they kept, if you look at my cursor here, are these lots, this subdivision in and around the lake on the north side of that lake. Everything else we've acquired, farmhouse and everything. So to begin, really what we've done when we talk about those amenities, it's this massive surf lake. It's we've got 6.5 acres of lake over here, and then we've got another 14.5 roughly acres of lake over on the other side. This is the surf lake, and we'll get into what that is. That is one of the main core amenities that we have. The lake itself is about 14 acres. It's 100% lined with concrete. It is chlorinated, and it's all used off our well water. None of the city's water system. And we can kind of go through some of those details also. The other areas, oh shoot.
Hey, so I caused that. IT's going to let me share this exhibit for Councilman Coates' question. Sorry.
And while he's doing that, really what we've tried to do is we've placed amenity hubs in different villages, and each one of the villages are designed around that amenity hub, right? So we've got the roughly 20 acres of surf lakes in the area that we just showed. We have a 32-court pickleball, regional pickleball, kind of chicken and pickle concept that we'll share with you there. That anchors another area. We've got our farmhouse, the existing farmhouse, and we're going to expand the amenities over there. That anchors another area. So Thad, you've got that, the red.
Yeah, and I'll explain it here. So Councilman, this was an exhibit that we required as part of the agreement for approval of development rights. And the thing we wanted to make sure that was clear, because just like you, staff wanted to know what was being transferred as a right and what wasn't. And so this exhibit shows that. This was prepared probably a year ago or more during that contract. The gray areas are labeled private ownership. That means they'd been developed and sold to private owners or to whatever association is managing, the common area in those spots. The red is labeled excluded properties, That means they were excluded from sale. Just stated otherwise, it means they were retained by the original developer. And so those are, you'll remember Carl Larson and his ownership group, those were retained by them to be completed by them. That's also why some of you might have heard they're working on a lake out there, right? Is there was a lake in the area of and affiliated with those.
So the 6.5 acre lake, is that Carl Larson or is that Alea? Is that the new development group or the old development group building that?
They are digging
Hey,
the hole.
speak of the mic there,
Yeah,
McKay.
sorry. They are digging the hole. We are improving the landscaping in and around it.
Okay.
Everything else that's green is what was acquired by the new landowners. And I think that was the start of your question, right, Councilman?
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, it kind of stems of, but it doesn't show it on the map of like the landscaping along Washington Fields. It's not completed, and it should have been by now, and I don't know whose responsibility that is. Is that something?
That's us.
That's you?
Yeah, when we bought it, we inherited the obligation to finish those improvements, which we will.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just get off of this and you can go back to your,
Okay, thanks, Dad. So you can see we've got, that was this area right here that they're retaining. There's a lot of detail in through here, so I'll try to work through it fairly quickly, and we'll, as we go through these slides, you'll see we'll work through some of it, but this is the farmhouse. This will be a regional amenity hub. We're gonna expand the farmhouse into over here. This is the 32 pickleball courts. Everything in pink is retail. This is mixed use multifamily, everything in yellow is single family. And we've got slides on some of these villages that you could take a look at. And again, just feel free to ask questions as we go along. So when it comes to these surf lakes, like I've mentioned, it's not a lake so much as it is just a massive pool or lagoon. But there's a project that's done down in Waco, Texas by the exact company that we're going to be using, America Wave Machine, all their technology. And you can see the way that it works here. I'll pull this up real quick. This is just a YouTube. This will give you an idea of what we're going to build, only it's about twice this size. It's a long clip, so we'll kind of move through it. I've got 2 or 3 that we can show, but
How do they get the waves? I mean, do they just press water underneath, or how does that?
pistons. So you'll see that whole bar across the back, this section back in through here, that wall, that's basically casings that house like big pistons. They come up, they're down underneath the ground, they come up, and then they push down and they just go boom, 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 boom. And then that creates that wave. You can see it better off the back. So take a mental image of that, and we can show you the way it lays out on our project. You've got Groves Parkway that would be coming up along the backside of that concrete, and it pushes that wave out towards the beach and our boardwalk and everything else that we have. The difference here is they've got a wave that's going in one direction. Ours is much bigger than this. It will push a wave in that direction. It'll push a wave also in the opposite direction. So you get surf waves going in either direction. And the beautiful thing about this is it creates a perfectly uniform wave, and it pushes them out about every 10 to 15 seconds. Everybody loves it because you can practice doing tricks and you don't have to wait sometimes 30 minutes for the right wave to come in. You can grab all this on YouTube. You can see there where the waves kind of roll in back to back. That's one example. This is, and I won't spend too much time on this, but this is also another really good example. This is Waco. But you start to get the idea. That was before they opened up. They've just brought in a couple pros. This gives you an idea of the just the amount of spectators that just come to watch, hang out. And they're not even designed, they're really not designed to do what we're doing. You see all the people sitting and watching. I won't go through this one, but it's a little kid. I mean, you've got kids, you've got people of all ages that are coming in and using this. So if you were to imagine, so this is our site plan. So if you can imagine, those pistons would be lined up back here on Groves Boulevard. It pushes a wave in that direction, pushes a wave in this direction. Here's our beach. We've got a big rock. This is all retail, hotel. There's a massive boardwalk that lines the facility all the way around. And so our total idea, and we've got some 3D images that we can show you, but the idea is not only is this a destination for people to come to surf, but it's a place that the public gets to enjoy. You walk along the boardwalk, you grab an ice cream, you grab a snow cone, you get a sandwich, you get a taco, you eat at a restaurant that overlooks the surf park, you can walk around the boardwalk. Even if you're not a surfer, it's such a regional destination, it will draw so many people to it that we view it as a one-of-a-kind, literally a one-of-a-kind amenity destination. These blue boxes right here, what they call a unit surf wave, it's basically a free-floating surf wave. I've got images of it. It's where people can learn. It pulls water from back along this peninsula into it and creates about a 4-foot wave that will also be an opportunity to surf. So our 3D images. This is Groves Parkway. This is where those pistons are located. Waves roll out this way into a beach. This is all retail, restaurant, hotel, boardwalk, brand new clubhouse, pickleball courts, pool with a lazy river, volleyball courts. Again, boardwalk, place where spectators can come, gather, and watch the surfing, and you can walk along the whole lake.
McKay, will you just, you may be addressing this a little more later, but will you talk about why there's that much water and where you're getting the water, and can you kind of reaffirm that you're not going to be looking for culinary water from the city? We have to be like the optics and water can be complicated. So talk to us about this water, where it comes from, and how you.
You bet. So let me just skip over to this table, which we were going to get to. So from an entitlement standpoint, so as of our current development agreement, or the current plan that we inherited, there's 25 acres of lakes, right? So what we're proposing to do is shrink that down to 20 acres. And right now shows that we're currently under construction on that 6.5. That's what the former owners are developing right now. So what we'll have left over is about 14 and a half, 15 acres.
And are you calling these lagoons or lakes?
Lagoons, really. I mean, they really are a lagoon because it's chlorinated and so on. And so this next section is the developers will not use city's culinary water, right? So if we go through this, the developer won't use the city's culinary water for the development of the surf lakes. We own 2,400 acre feet of well water that we own privately that's not a part of the city's system. The water will be sourced from our wells. We've got 5 wells on site that work and are operating that we've proved up that will actually take all of the water that is needed for the surf lakes and for the 6.5 acre of lakes that is under development right now. That's the source of 100% of the lakes that we have on site.
Can I ask you a question right there? So the water that is on site out there has some challenges. It's got a very significant geological feature that kind of contaminates it, but it's proved up that's not going to cause any problems for the chlorination or the.
That's right, and that's part of why it's also a benefit.
Pull that mic down.
That's part of why it's a benefit to the city, right? Because it's not water that we can put into the system,
right.
And it can be used not even for landscaping. It's so brackish that it turns everything red, more or less. And so, as you read down through here, also basically what it is that we're going to be doing is we're going to take it, pipe it to these lakes. In those lagoons, in that surf lake, it's extremely expensive. This whole facility is a $70 million lagoon. It goes through a reverse osmosis process where the water is cleaned and purified. It's put into a fully lined concrete pool and is chlorinated. So it's 100% clean. We're taking all of our brackish water, cleaning it up and putting it into those lagoons.
So are you going through the state for all the permitting? Are they considering this a swimming pool? Are they considering it a lake?
More or less. It really is more or less a swimming pool. So yes, we're in with the state right now, going through a change of use application with the state on our water.
Because there's other places that have tried to do the same thing and had challenges, right?
Yeah.
Around town, same side of the river. We all know south of the river is brackish, hard water. It's unusable for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So the question I have is that what happens if it doesn't work?
What happens if the water that we have does not work?
Yeah.
Well,
That's my biggest fear, and I think I've mentioned that to you before, is what happens when 10 years or 5 years from now, you're saying, hey, this water really is unusable, we can't get it figured out, happened in Hurricane,
no, I think it's a legitimate question. And if and I think part of the answer is in that next little section, right, where it says lakes use less water than a golf course or ball fields. So an 18-hole golf course takes about 750 acre-feet of water. Like I said, we have 2,400 acre-feet. Our lagoons require about 120 acre-feet of water. It's a fraction of what it is that we have. We feel confident based off the amount of water that we have as a right, plus what our wells are producing. Our wells are kicking off enough water right now to be able to fill this up in, what did we say, Mike? How long would it take to fill up? It's like 30 days. And then topping it off, a golf course, it's 750 every single year, acre feet.
yeah, we're not, yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm not talking about
yeah,
a golf course, I understand that, but like, with my knowledge, I know that a golf course is a lot of water, right?
Yeah.
Just like residential is a lot of water. The question I think I asked was, what happens when your water isn't even good for what you want it to use for? That's my concern.
Well, we've, and I guess the question is, we don't anticipate something like that happening, obviously, because number one, it's a small amount of water that we need to provide, and number two, based off of the technology that America Wave Machine is using, we believe that it'll work.
And then just state your name there, Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean Colarusso. Craig, are you asking whether or not the water's been tested by the health department? So we had it tested by the health department to make sure it was okay for recreating in specifically.
No, I just know that there's lots of challenges, and when it gets down to this process,
Yeah.
and then you go to real application, a lot of times it struggles. It's a lot harder, it's a lot more expensive to manage and deal with, and so I'm just trying to prepare you for this water is not easy.
Got it.
And the city, what I'm hearing is that, on my side, at least me as a council member, is you're not gonna touch our culinary water, and you're saying you're not going
Right.
to. But don't come to us in 5 years saying, well, I can't make it work, just begging and pleading to use culinary water. And that's one thing I'll be looking for very clearly is never use culinary water if it's an empty pool that just, that's kind of the risk you're taking. But that's my concern, is just that you'll come back in 5 years because something happened or it costs too much or whatever it is.
Got it.
I think we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
We're, the guys, the group America Wave Machine, the guys that are buying this and putting all of this stuff in are already investing. They've already invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in the technology and vetting this process out. It's a $70 million development. They're not going to close on this unless we've proven that up. And we've been sharing data with them back and forth, and they feel comfortable with where it's at right now. So
Yeah, just to clarify, so we've sent them water samples. We've had the water tested by SUU. We've had the water tested by SUU. We've also had it tested by the health department, and it came back as, viable for recreating in. And then the test samples that we've also taken, they've been shared with the American Wave Machine as far as viability. So we understand the concern, but right now we're very confident that we've addressed those concerns.
Okay, so the last little bit of it is just the economic benefit. Like I said, we've done a lot of very, very large master plan communities. We've brought in outlet malls, Cabela's, Adobe, massive, massive anchors. We have never done a development where we have something that is as unusual an anchor as this is, and the potential for economic growth like this. And so, as we go down the road, we can actually put together numbers on how we think that this will benefit. But I can say without equivocation, we will absolutely get retail tenants that we would not get otherwise, period. It will make what is right now a very untenable retail location a retail destination. And I think we'll get tenants that are not even in St. George right now. I think that that's absolutely a real thing. So we've gone through this where you kind of have seen what the image is and what the idea is. Again, this is, it's a retail anchored.
What's the depth?
It's 6, so in this area here, where we're jumping off, this is like a Waimea Bay, rock that you'd leap off of. It's 16 feet at its deepest point in through here. So in this area, it's about 16 feet. Of course, it gets shallower as it reaches the shore.
And on the lake, surf lake?
The surf lake, I want to say it starts at 16 and then works its way down to 0.
Okay.
Down and through here.
Are they both concrete lined, or
Yes.
just the surf one is?
Well, everything on this side, if I go back to this map, this is all of this is concrete lined. This one is not. This is a combination of,
It's getting built right now.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. No watercraft that's going to be going into anything at all. Yeah.
So is it plastered like a normal pool and has,
Todd, do you want to speak
like
to
a
that?
pump system? And I mean,
And then just state your name if you don't mind, Todd.
Sorry, Todd Amberry.
so is the giant pool plastered like a normal pool would be and has like pumps and all of this kind of thing, or?
So we've engaged Cloward H2O. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They're world-renowned aquatic engineers. They're designing the entire system. And so there's, chemical process that goes into it. There's a variety of things that happen. I don't know if they're going to recommend it be plaster. I don't know if they're going to recommend it be rock concrete sealed. I mean, there's a variety of treatments that they'll use, but all that goes into the formula. And kind of to answer your question, Councilman Coates, these guys have designed some of the most complicated water systems in the world.
Yeah, I know Clower, they're really good.
Yeah, and they can guarantee that this water will be usable forever. Obviously, there's a cost to it. But yeah, I mean, obviously no one can guarantee anything, but we feel pretty confident with these guys and with the guarantees, or at least the assurances that they've given us that this will work. And they've seen the water samples, the water tests, and they're not real concerned about it. I mean, it's not great water, don't get me wrong, but it's good enough that they can work with it, so.
It's not great water, but it's, to my knowledge, it's grown sod that's the sod farm right there for years, which
Yeah.
baffles a lot of scientists.
Well, it's just the cycle. So if you look at like we were just out there, all the landscaping in front of the clubhouse, kind of leading up to the farmhouse, it's trash. Like we're tearing it all out. There's gonna be all new
I
landscaping.
noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the cycle. So as you water, the more you water, it just kills everything in its path. So as long as you're watering it, growing it, cutting it like the sod farm does, it's okay, because then it goes to good water. But as you continue to water it with that same water, it just kills whatever's in its path. So
Farm produces a new surface every time they seed, and then this water is salty enough to not kill it in the 3 months of sprouting and sale. But if you were to do a full season of watering, the salts start to collect to the point that the grass would die.
Is the sod farm done?
no, we've actually extended their lease for another year. So they'll come in and
It's just looked pretty bare, so I was just curious.
yeah, they haven't done much this year. We keep asking the same question. We have a lease with them, so they're supposed to be out there.
Councilman
but-
Coates, what did you ask? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I just asked if the sod farm was done now that they took over, but
Yeah,
it
they're
sounds
supposed
like
to
they
be.
got another year lease, but
Yeah.
yeah. Just last time I drove by, it was all cut off and
Yeah.
not much there, so that's why I was
Yeah.
just asking.
All right, so moving on. The next section we've got this is Village 13 and 14. It's the villages that we have, going back to our site plan. This is everything. Of course, you got the highway that's right here, Warner Valley Road, Washington Fields. We really have taken what we call we call this Village 13. We call this lower section Village 14. We are genuinely trying to create a mixed-use environment where you've got retail and residential that's integrated into a very walkable, retail-friendly environment. So we'll skip down to that. That's this whole section in through here. Everything in pink is retail. This is Warner Valley Road, Washington Fields, all of this is retail. This is retail on the ground floor of residential. This is the 32-court pickleball facility. And then this is a residential village that has, connectivity. The whole idea behind not only this village, but everything is, again, we're trying to strategically place these amenity cores in different villages, connect everything through sidewalks, trails, all of that kind of stuff.
McKay, in that village there, 13, 14, how many of those do you anticipate being owner occupied versus rental or short-term rental?
I think you'll have the big blocks, that's an apartment, so those will be rental. Everything else that is a townhome or detached will be for sale, likely. So you've got this kind of my mouse is kind of going wacky up here, but these are apartments, everything in between, these are towns. And the idea through here is we want those to look like brownstones. We really are trying to have everything kind of face out, alley load. Big, beautiful promenade kind of down through the middle where people can walk their dogs and stuff like that. And you've got brownstone-like development where it walks up to the units. We've got some images on that also. Over here in Village 13, this is a detached product, so likely for sale, will be for sale. And then this is a for rent type of, walkable mixed-use environment.
And you anticipate this is the streetscape for a lot of that retail entertainment, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so this section is what we're looking, that image right now that we're looking at is sorry, my mouse, it's looking from the north back to the south. So that is south facing. You can see we've got that promenade, townhomes lining the street, walkable brownstones like what you'd see in Chicago or something like that, little stoops that go up to a home. Okay? Down at the ends, it's anchored by more multifamily housing. This is south facing, so from the north looking back, that gives you an idea of the massing of what the apartments would look like with the townhomes kind of in the foreground. Again, going back north facing, this is just a longer view of that promenade going all the way down. This now is getting into that section that you were asking about, Mr. Mayor.
Is that real or fake grass there?
That's a good point. It's not going to probably be that green. We recognize that. So on the opposite side,
Desert scape or artificial turf would be great.
Right. One of those two. We may do some turf actually in places. Back behind this is the pickleball deal, and again, we want this, it's kind of in between a lot of the retail as a transition piece between the retail and the residential. We just want this whole thing to be walkable. Whoops, wrong direction. How many acres is commercial retail? In total, over 100, I don't know if it's quite 100 acres.
Yeah. Hey, McKay, just so the question from Commissioner Schill is how many acres of commercial? Go ahead, McKay.
So the total acreage of dedicated commercial, 40 acres maybe or something like that. I estimate that we probably are going to have 250,000 square feet of commercial on this project, 250 to 300,000 square feet of commercial, which again goes back to we've got to create a destination here to forward the development of that. Otherwise, it's too far in the future. In order to accelerate it, we've got to bring in things that will accelerate that process. So this is Village 14. I know that you're probably getting a little bit confused on where this is at, but if if you're at this intersection here, you're looking back that way, and that is this image. This looks back towards 13, so that's Warner Valley in the middle, Washington Fields along here. This is looking back at, this is the sod farm, I guess, right? So we're looking at grocery anchored, grocery store, restaurant pads out in front, mixed use residential in the back, retail on the ground floor, residential above.
So can I ask a question before you get too far away from the recreation side? So you know the history for Stuckey Farm. For us, as have been around the city for a while, we were somewhat disappointed when we weren't able to land a pretty significant recreation, and you're all familiar with that, with the Red Slope Soccer. So I'm impressed with this project as far as the wave. I'm not a surfer dude, but you know what? I appreciate those that like that. But that's a pay to play.
Yeah.
And you've talked about pickleball. And so you got to pay to play, and you've got a pickleball amenity, which generally it's older folks that enjoy that.
Yeah.
What have you got is that not true? Yeah. No.
Come on up, Sean.
I stand to be corrected because I don't play pickleball. But
Sean says he's young and he plays.
So my question is, what other amenities do we have for the kids that are gonna be there?
It's a great question.
What do we got for the kids?
That's a great question. So I've got 3 slides I want to show you on this area, and then I'm going to move to
Okay,
that, okay?
please.
So just quickly, that's looking back, right? And then this is some of the images that we have of what we'd like to do with this whole mixed-use area. Again, just images. We want to make sure that there's a ton of shade, a lot of, it's hot, so we got to create shade structures with our
And is that
retail.
also maybe some of the type of architectural elements you want to?
Yes and no. We're one of the things that we have as part of the PCD amendment is going to be updated design guidelines. That's taking it's going to take a little bit to develop. We haven't really landed on what the architectural theme is going to be yet, but the intent here is just to say, look, we need to have paseos, we need to have shade structures, we need to have something that is architecturally consistent, but as people are walking through all of this, they're walking under the shade when it's 100.
I love the concept of gathering spaces and fronting the buildings to the streets. I think there's a lot of things that I really like.
Yeah, we do too. So pickleball, again, this is just a blow up of that pickleball section. That's it right there. This is very rough, but this is a concept called Chicken and Pickle. It's getting built all over the place. This is what we want to bring here. Todd and I are restaurant owners. This is not something that would be complicated for us. And we actually have a one-of-a-kind, it genuinely is a one-of-a-kind restaurant. We're getting hounded all over the place in Salt Lake. We'll bring that here, and it's fantastic. You'll love it. So that's something that we'll bring. This gives you an idea of what
So it's like the equivalent to big shots with golf kind of
That's
thing?
basically what it is. And that's what's happening all over the country right now. They're taking the Top Golf or Big Shots concept and they're combining it with pickleball. They're combining it, if you've heard of Pop Stroke, they're combining it with mini golf. It really is kind of the new wave of entertainment, which we think the whole pickleball component of this would be fantastic. So, Councilmember Ivy, one of the areas that we wanted to talk to you all about when we come to that is we recognize that a lot of this is pay to play. It's a boost and it absolutely helps the development of the community. It's a benefit to the community because people will pay to play. I mean, you go to the Pickler, people are paying, to go to the Pickler. So the question then becomes, what do we do from an overall amenity that is either public or something else? And we've got what amounts to about a 4-acre park right in through here. We had it somewhere centrally located in the middle over here, but we've now moved it over. We think that's a better location for it. We think we could easily set up soccer fields in through there, not a full-size soccer field, but practice soccer fields that we can put in there. The other thing that we frankly wanted to talk to the Planning Commission and Council about is what do we do with 18 and 19? We call these 2 parcels 18 and 19. It's under the flight path, which, we've had discussions about, uses that go in the flight path. It's about 22 acres. We've designated it right now as commercial / amenity or / public use. We don't, in today's market and right now, we don't know exactly what that is. We want to have a conversation with you all about what that should be. But we think to your point, there are so many concepts out there like Chicken and Pickle or like Top Golf and Big Shots that, I've seen one with baseball. It's called Home Run Dugout, and it's remarkable. It's really cool. It's a bunch of turf wiffle ball courts with it's really, really cool. Does that go there? Is it soccer fields? What is it? We're open to having that dialogue about 18 and 19 and say, what is the best use for it? It's just that today, we want to designate it as that zone. We just don't know what that best thing is today. So that's part of why we wanted to have the dialogue with you in this working session is what do we think the right best use for it is?
You can see there's a lot of slope there too. Isn't that the hillside?
It is, but it's actually not that bad. It's one of the more pretty pieces of property I think that we have because it does have a little bit of grade that I think would be really interesting to work with. If you wanted to turn it into soccer fields, you're right. We're gonna be dealing with a little bit of retaining on it. But it's a really, really pretty piece. I will say that.
Well, one of the things we are missing in this town is more fields for our kids. We seem to be short because I play every game in Cedar and Mesquite for some reason every weekend. So with my kids,
Soccer,
football.
Yeah.
And I play kids from here, so it blows me away that we're going to Cedar or Mesquite, but that's how it is right now. But because our fields are like Sullivan Soccer Park is just slam packed, right? We can't fit any more programming in it. I know the city's fields are just packed. So that's something I would love to see, is some more usable play area that's beneficial to the community as a whole. Because, I mean, what's your density count?
Total, 2,700.
Is you're requesting more, or
Yeah.
that's what's already,
That, we're requesting more.
so what do you have allocated
Right now, well, it depends on where we land with, with the city on a calculation of what it is that we have left. I think that there's maybe some, I don't want to say dispute, but we're, just working through that number. But I would say it's about
Approximately.
1,900, yeah. So
There's
it's about-
1,900 and you want 2,700?
Yep.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, you can see, it's pretty meticulously planned, and I think that it works well.
As long as the infrastructure's there and all those things are there, that's.
Oh, for sure.
So that's the thing
Yeah.
that we need to verify is, hey, do we have the big enough water, big enough sewer? Because you're adding an extra
That's right.
1,000 units down there, or requesting an extra 1,000 units.
That's right, and we've got,
So-
you'll see as we get through, and we don't need to spend a ton of time going through the actual, PCD pages, but, in that is, sorry. My mouse is being funny, but basically in it, we've got all of utilities planned. So we have already got our civil engineer working on all of it. We have the capacities for everything. We are able to handle it without question from a traffic standpoint and from a utilities and infrastructure standpoint.
I'm not disagreeing, you might. I'm just asking, has our staff had a chance to review to make sure our infrastructure
Yeah.
out on the roads can handle it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schill, you had a question? Do you have Commissioner Schill's asking about the development time frame?
Long term, I think we're probably 7 to 10 years total, and that's build out.
I've got an answer for Councilman Coates and for the mouse. IT says watch your screen as you're mousing,
Oh, yeah.
not that one.
Yeah.
That might be where the confusion's
is.
happening. As to utility extensions or upsizes, Councilman Coates, we don't have staff review them at the entitlement stage. An applicant's able to come and ask for entitlements that may not be supported by the current system. What staff would do is, if that were the case, they would be required to upsize or extend utilities to the standard that meets whatever the council approved for them.
No, I appreciate that. I just, with the troubles we've had with other developments, I would expect that stuff would be done before we grant the entitlement of that many units if we we want to do
And
that.
I don't think we've got, I mean, you could still see here in our utility exhibit, we've already planned for the utilities. We also have, cross sections. Traffic study is an exhibit to this. We've already paid for a traffic study, already implemented it into this because we need to know on our end if we've got the infrastructure in place to be able to support it.
And I'm not worried about traffic. You got some big roads that are adjacent to you, so I'm sure it can handle the traffic by your development. It's the water, the sewer, those kind of things.
Your density you just mentioned.
Uh-huh.
Has there been any consideration or discussion about the affordable housing component within
Yeah.
your development and what that might look like? Because that is quite a jump from your entitlements and what you're asking for. So it's just helpful for me to kind of wrap my head around it right now, what that would look like. Because
Yeah.
density doesn't automatically mean affordability, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
And, we'll have, like I mentioned before, a lot of this section and through here, you're gonna have market rate, apartments and housing, which absolutely helps. I mean, I've got a daughter that's 21 years old. She lives in an apartment. She's not gonna be able to afford a home till she's, I don't know how many years from now. And so, but she can't afford her own apartment. And it's great. And it's a way that I can keep my daughter close. And I think a lot of families will feel that way with the type of product that we provide. I mean, that is, the apartments are certainly one. A lot of the townhomes that we plan to build are absolutely within the affordable price range. In through here, all of these townhomes in through here, they're about, I don't want to say they're as low as the market can bear right now, but as you know, I mean, townhomes are high 3s, mid 4s, and that's the most affordable product that we have, absent apartments. Apartments are the next best use. And so we've got plenty of apartments in here that we think will fill a huge part of that gap.
Commissioner Schill.
I'm jumping back, I'm sorry, but is there a life expectancy of the lake water or the lagoon water?
He's asking about the life expectancy of the lagoon,
Like we mentioned, we have all of those lakes take 120 acre feet of water annually. We have 2,400 acre feet that we have annually. And so it's kind of a fraction of the water that we have. So we should be able to pump that out pretty easily to keep it refreshed.
Like in a pool, every 7 years or whatever, you're draining it and starting over.
You want to
Is
address that?
Is that wet water or papered water?
It's wet. I mean, we've been using a
You've
lot
done
of
the
it.
calcs
Yeah,
to
we've
calculate the wet water
Yeah.
versus the papered water.
Yeah.
Is
Now,
it-
a
is there-
lot of that is papered,
Your
right?
water right, is there a difference between your wet water and your papered water? Is it the same?
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I know that we have 2,400 acre feet. I don't know, Sean, if you know the answer to that.
I can answer that. Common problem in mountainous areas where water rights are reflected in creeks that have snow melt. And so there's sometimes a few months of the year when there's enough wet water to equate to paper water. Usually later in the summer, you've got multiple people that are claiming paper water, but there's not enough to split the creek's flow to meet those calculations. With groundwater and aquifers, usually they measure whether there's enough enough wet water to meet paper water based on the aquifer levels and whether it's holding. Iron County has pumped so much of their groundwater that they've now got a groundwater management plan because the valley floor is dropping and cracks are occurring because the aquifer has receded so much. And so until we pump the aquifer so hard, we really can't know how much water is down there to meet all of the paper uses. We do know that south of the river, there's a lot of papered water rights in the ground, and most of them aren't pumping because of the water quality. And so it's well known that there's a lot of water in the ground down there. It's also well known that that water's been tough to work with. So as far as do they have enough wet water to meet their papered water, I would say that the general understanding is that there's enough water down there. It's just whether they can make it work.
So Thad, while you're talking about that, can we go back to Councilman Coates' question? Like, let's say that, they've done all their due diligence, but something happens where they are unable to use their water, like we've seen in other projects. What would happen as far as?
I reflect the councilman's concern. I would ask that as you consider something for a vote on this in a meeting that's not a work meeting, that you make it clear in the legislative decision that approval applies to water that they bring. And I think if the future does present a scenario where their water's not working, they at least wouldn't be able to claim the legislative decision gave them a right to connect that to the culinary system. There's still options in our area. The water district has water shares and water sources and reservoirs that they might be able to fill that. St. George City has a fairly developed secondary water system. They've got ponds and pools of water that they might be able to help fill that. And so they would have other options. The St. George and Washington Canal Company, which these applicants own shares in, has another water source that might be able to work. And so they would have to go back to the drawing table and find a solution. I would just ask that if you do approve them with that condition, that you make it clear so that the future comes, we understand.
Okay. Go ahead. I was just going to ask, he brings up the canal water. Are you planning on using any of that water in the development?
As of right now, we don't have a use identified. We know that we have the shares and that they have some value somewhere. We just haven't figured out what that is yet.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Henderson, did you have some comments?
Thanks, Mayor. Councilman Ivy kind of addressed the question that I had. My main concern is the affordability of, what do all these amenities do to the affordability of the residential land in the area, and that's just my main concern is, are we going to have some units for sale that are affordable for regular people here in St. George that are having to struggle? I mean, one of my main issues is in our whole area, we've been really catering to, I call it the rich and famous, right? With these
I call it Mike Uzelak, but, you know.
But I mean, and it, you know, it's okay. You know, one of the benefits of it is it spurs our economy and it helps keep people stay busy in their jobs and things. But the flip side of that is we have priced all of our locals out of the market to be able to afford a home. And so when I see projects come in like this, you know, it's really cool. I really like it. But I always think about affordability. And so, you know, catering to the rich and famous all these years, and I can name all these projects around town, you know, around the area, the county where we've done that, really caused a strain on the locals that have grown up here, families that want to stay here, kids that want to stay here. The reality is they can't afford houses anymore. And so that's my main concern when I see a project like this come in. Are those townhomes really going to be affordable?
Let me spend 2 minutes on that, Brett, because I agree with you. And frankly, where we're at today, I think, you know, as we've spoken with builders in the community, we certainly, just to give you an example, Visionary, they've purchased property from us already. It is without question, what we sold it for and what they're building it at is an affordable price point. We feel the opposite. We feel that as of right now, I know the rest of Washington City probably doesn't feel this way, but where we're at in Stookie, we're having a hard time pushing the values to where we think that they ultimately could go. But from a master planning standpoint, it's in our best interest to be able to provide price points that absorb in different price ranges. It doesn't make sense for us to provide all expensive stuff. We won't be able to absorb through it. From a business plan standpoint, it doesn't actually work. And in all of our experience in developing master plan communities, it is always that way. We have to have 5 different price points, 5 different products, and we need to be moving on all of those at all the time, and it does include an affordable component. The other, and part of how we have done that is it belongs in the right places, right? So as you're coming in off of the highway, we're on that busy highway, and you're coming off Warner Valley, and you're on that massive Washington Fields Road, we've put, if you look at our land planning, you can see the little brown dots are concentrated on all of those areas where it's a little more noisy, it's a little more loud, it's a little more trafficked. But what it allows us to do is to create these environments that young people love. They love them. They thrive in these environments. They look at that and they say, well, shoot, I want to be able to walk out my door and walk down to the pickleball. I want to walk out my door and go down to the retail and grab my pre-workout and go hit the gym or something like that, right? And so that's the way that we've designed all of this in through here. Really, even these townhomes that are on the opposite side of Washington Fields, we've concentrated a lot of that affordability in an area where it absolutely works. And so by nature, it's not good. They will not be priced out of whatever that market is. And I think that the apartments will also help fill a huge part of that gap, so.
Can you email this presentation to us?
100%, we'll give all of this to you guys. And I apologize we didn't get it out to you before. There's YouTube videos and other things in there but we'll send all of it to you.
You know, we attended, several of us attended the League of Cities and Towns last week, where we listened to other cities and presentations on different things. And one of the workshop meetings that really caught my attention was one of our sister cities up north that has incorporated the idea of densities tied to affordable housing. So just want you to know, be in for some good horse trading when you come in.
Okay.
We definitely recognize the need, as we've said, and I think we're aware that our community is driven by, you know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money here. There just really is. I think it's kind of magnetized that, but there's also people that was mentioned that we want to be able to, our kids to live here too, and that shouldn't be on the backs of any one entity or developers. I don't believe in that at all, but just be ready for some good horse trading, all right?
We'll be prepared. Oh, Sean's just saying we've got a pretty extensive trail system that we also
you should
want
listen to Sean. That's a good thing to talk about.
We do. Just to give you one quick little zoom in. This has not, you can see the red, right? All of this red will be incorporated into the trail system. And again, it's 100% consistent with our idea behind a master plan. I've said this over and over with my team, and we've all talked about it. They're probably sick of each of us talking about it, but we want, we want everybody who lives here, a mom and dad, to have little Johnny jump on his little scooter and go some safe place throughout the community. I want to go play pickleball. They go play. I want to go down to the surf park with my buddies and watch everyone surf. We want to be able to have that kind of connectivity in the community. So it feels like a place where families and children are safe to be able to do that. In order to do that, we have to have a hierarchy of trails. We've got our sidewalks that lead to a in some cases, a 10-foot, path for the trail. You can kind of see, we've put together, this is really, really, really rough, but down on this corner, we'd like to do a farmer's market and a boat launch. When I say boat launch, a little kayak launch for kayakers to be able to get out into these lakes over here.
Paddle boards, stuff like that.
Paddle boards, all that kind of stuff. And so you can see we have designed, this is again, really, really rough, but you come into, a little parking lot. This is a place where, Todd and I live in a place where they bring, Burgess Farms brings in peaches and this and that and all that, and everyone goes down there and they love it. We're hoping that we can find something like that to do here with, some little sandy beach that you can launch off with your paddleboard and your kayak. Again, this has a trail system. You can see that it leads off here and goes around the entirety of the lake. I'll go back to that image that and this is one piece of our community, but that red line extends all the way down into the retail. You can see it connects through the retail. It connects along the boardwalk. We've got the ability for people who live here or up in Village 9 to come through these pedestrian ways, work their way down, walk along the boardwalk. So not only will you have the connectivity for the community here, but you can come and park, right? You'd be able to park in the retail, park here by the farmer's market. Shoot, you could probably park at the LDS church if they didn't object, and take the trail system all over the community.
Will you talk a little more about the resort, the hotel,
Yep.
what you have in mind there? And then also, if you can, just for my nerdy brain, how many acres did you acquire and how many single-family lots, if you know those offhand?
Acres that we acquired is about 400 total acres. We've got 600 acres in the community as a total.
And you'll rebrand the entire community, Alea?
Yep. We're
Okay.
going to go back through all of the landscaping that has not been done. We're moving to kind of what they've done in front of the LDS temple, right? Where you've got palm-lined roads. It's going to have a little bit more of that vibe to it.
Desertscape.
Yep. And we'll take that and carry that all the way down Washington Field, so everything feels uniform. So it doesn't look like you've got two projects that were, poorly melded to each other.
So is it one HOA still?
Right now, our HOA system is complicated. The way Carl set it up is there are several sub-associations and one master. We would like to pull them all in under one master to the extent that they don't have some specific amenity that is unique to them. But yes, ideally, we will have one master association. We would like to have everybody under it. And then if you've got some special amenity that's unique to you, you may have a sub-association.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, we can get back to you on how many single-family residential units there are versus attached product.
Not a big deal. I'm just curious. And
Yeah.
Councilman?
How much, since the HOAs were brought up, how much conversations have you had with the neighbors and residents that are currently in Stookie Farm?
A lot. It was the recommendation of staff that we meet with the homeowners first and get their take. We went through all of this with them. They loved it. At least that's what they told us, right? They said that they really liked it. Their biggest concerns are going back and cleaning up the old landscaping. We recognize that we need to do that. That's their primary
That
concern.
was the first question from this council, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think Craig asked that question. And we recognize that we need to do that and make it feel like it's all uniform. As far as association dues going forward.
About association dues, I think everybody on this panel, or up in the elected body has heard from people from Stookie Farms on one application or another for
Long time.
a long time.
Yeah, and I think that our takeaway was they loved the whole plan. They just want to see their landscape. I mean, you've got roads that don't have any landscaping in. We get it. Like, we look at that and we're like, well, how did that happen? And so I just don't think the previous developers, they obviously just put
Is
it.
that something you're gonna tax sooner than later, or is that?
It is. Right now, we're working on what we call Groves Parkway. It's that road that goes from the main intersection all the way up. We are developing and landscaping all of that. And we're just finishing up with our landscape plans on that, excuse me. And so once we've identified the language of the landscaping, right, like what it's gonna look like, how the monuments are gonna look like, how it all comes together, we'll look back to those other sites and start cleaning up. We've got to come up with a strategy on what pieces we take and when and how we start improving it. But it's on our priority list for sure.
So did you say that you had done some analysis on the homeowners' fees, or you're probably not to that point yet, but just let me make a comment or a.
Sure.
So we have had a lot of comment from the folks at Stuckey Farm, and I think a lot of them felt like that those fees went up quite a bit more than what they probably should have been, but because of some construction delays and things, that they're really quite high. If there's a way to bring them more uniformly and reduce those, I know that they and us and the council would appreciate that, because some of their fees are some of the highest that I'm aware of, that provides kind of that same amenity level.
I agree, Councilman Murray. What Carl did that is really unique, and maybe it's not unique to St. George, it's certainly unique to where we come from, is every single one of the front yards and backyards are maintained by the HOA, which I mean, my neighbor mows my lawn and takes care of it. It's 80, because a little kid, it's $80 a month, right? Or actually $80 a week. So I'm probably getting rooked. But their dues are significantly lower than that, and they're having their front yards and backyards maintained. Now, are they being maintained as well as they would like? Probably not, and that needs to improve. But I think part of that conversation should be, well, maybe you guys should take back the maintenance of your own backyard at a minimum. I mean, we've all talked about this. We don't really want to be in their backyards, right? So we think that they should take that back. It'll help reduce their overall fees, and it will, be in a place that's more manageable for them. I also think they just feel like, look, the way Carl set up the clubhouse is a little different. It's not exclusively theirs. It's open to the public. So from an amenity standpoint, we're going to expand the stuff that's going on at the farmhouse, and I think that will help. So they feel like, look, we're getting something that's not just open to everybody, and it's not just unique to ours.
So you have a park out there that has been around for several years. It was a park that was built by the association, and they've maintained ownership and the maintenance on that. At one point, the city was talking about maybe bringing that in, and it didn't really meet some of our park standards. Have you had any conversation or anything on that you'd like to share?
We have, yeah. I think what we talked about that with staff, and our understanding is what it needs is bathrooms and what was
Parking.
And parking.
And a pavilion.
And parking trails. So,
I
that
think it's
may,
about 4 acres, so it probably might meet the size, but yeah, there are 2 or 3 items that didn't quite meet the standard.
yeah. So, I mean, that's an option, right? We go and put parking in, if to the extent that we can, put in bathrooms, and then you can turn it over to the city and have the city maintain it. That's one of the things we did talk about with them.
Yeah. And that would help bring some of those grass fields that Councilman Coates visited out. And I totally agree. It's been amazing to watch a lot of those same ball games.
I'm pretty sure they get used.
Traveling Mesquite and
My
But I
boy
think-
anecdotally, my boy's done the same thing. I mean, we go to Mesquite and play on those quasi-turf. I don't know if you can qualify them as turf, but those turf.
But I think what you as developers have heard, and at least in my experience with this council, is this is really nice. And there are some really cool elements to this development, the branding, the surf lakes, et cetera. But I think what this council wants to see is, how does this integrate and benefit the larger community? So I think if I'm you, I'm making points of things like some elements of attainable housing. I'm hearing, to be really smart with the water. I'm hearing maybe some public amenities that aren't, pay to play type things. Just some of those things, so that Alea, as it comes forward, it's not an island unto itself, but it's integrated within the greater community. And I think that kind of give and take. I didn't mean to speak for the council, but those are some of the things that I've heard and have heard over the years working with this body.
Yeah, and some of the things, just because I like to keep you informed of what I'm thinking, so that I always hate to leave a developer going down the wrong direction, right? Because I don't want you to get back to us in a year and say, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're like, nope, that's not what we want, right? The increase in density, I need more time to look at that. I don't have an answer. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no, I just don't know. That's a big increase ask. And you've heard my concerns about the water, and it sounds like you're heading in the right direction. I have a lot of experience in it and know the struggles in it, so that's why I question it. And then I feel like with the increased density there, and I haven't been able to look at your plan. They might have enough, it seems like there's not enough amenities that are not pay to play for that, the amount of things. And I know you have the farmhouse and stuff that does count for that, but I just haven't, those are the things that are in my mind right now that I'm looking at, thinking
So I'll
about.
give you an example of what Councilman's referring to is the council recently approved Solente, which is another master plan community, similar number of units there. There were 3 existing trailheads, and those amenities remained public trailheads but improved. So I think that's what we're looking for as far as the integration. We recognize that you're in this business to make a profit and to make a nice product, but if you can integrate some of those amenities that have kind of been part of the plan to an extent or another, I think that'll go a long ways with this voting body.
In terms of brainstorming what some of those ideas would be, should
That's
we
a great
coordinate
question.
with?
That's a great question
Would it be easier to coordinate with staff on some? I mean, we'd love your feedback tonight if you have anything. And I know, like off the cuff, it's impossible. You want to look at the plan, digest it, have time to go through it. We totally get that. If you have any ideas at all on what the city needs or is looking for, we're happy to have those conversations. And it'll give us some direction so we can go back to our land planners. And when we turn this around, we can say, hey, here's how we've made those changes to incorporate some of your thoughts.
I would just suggest paying a lot of attention to our general plan in the city. You can see the way that we're going to build, the way we're going to grow, with the extension of George Washington onto SR7, and there's been a lot of interest lately. It's no secret about Warner Valley. There's a lot of interest there. And as you look at the way it's building out, of course, we like the commercial component. Sales tax helps keep our taxes low, and we're very proud of our very, very low tax rate in Washington City. But a lot of those things, we like staff to have a look and let them do their jobs. They're the experts, the professionals, and then, for me anyway, the council may feel differently, others, but then that comes forward, and then we have a chance to maybe look at it and have some time to mull it over. But I appreciate the fact that you want to have that conversation and be part of the planning prior to bringing in a proposal. I like that.
Well, we appreciate that. We really tried to anticipate that with those villages 18, 19 area. Like I said, we've got a good amount of space in through that.
And some of those, I think, are just, as I saw, the way that the design and the site's laid out, it looked like there are a lot of gathering spaces. Mm-hmm. So I think that to a certain extent is public amenity. I think you can be creative with it. And council, is there any other thoughts on this end?
That's the open space, right? As of right now, that's the way that our open space and amenities are organized. And again, we're trying to spread them out. 9 has moved over here close to 6, right? It's in this spot. The one that we did.
So that'll be a public park.
Yeah, this is public.
So not exclusive to resort. And
Nope.
the trail system, is the trail system open to public?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
100%. Yeah. And then
Yeah, tie the community trail system into the master Washington trail system.
Yep.
Paul, you okay with that? Give the thumbs up.
She gives the thumbs up to everything Mike says. But yeah, I mean, if you guys look at that and you say, okay, we'd still like to see something down in here,
Those are good.
we're open to that.
City Manager Jeremy.
I appreciate the developers. We worked with them quite extensively. To answer your question, Councilman Coates, we haven't spent a lot of time on the details yet, but we wanted to make sure that the developer was able to come before you and make sure that they were headed in the right direction, again, before they spend lots of time and money. Obviously, that's already happened to a certain extent, but also they'll send out the information. If you come up with ideas, if you think about it a little bit, it's a little hard on the fly, but let us know and we can pass that information along to the developer and help them understand. But I think they've received what they were hoping to receive, I believe, tonight, which is
It's been a good interaction.
feedback, get the council thinking down this direction, but certainly give us feedback that you have, any of you, as you move forward, and pass it along to the developer.
And we don't do this a lot, so this is good for us to kind of have this opportunity. On this side, did you have something, Councilman Bellison?
Current status of the conversation with the airport.
Good. We met with them yesterday. We went with the city of Washington City yesterday. And I think their largest concerns are just mitigating the birds, making sure, particularly in fact, they looked at the surf lagoons and like, that's not a concern to us. It's lined with concrete, it's chlorinated. We don't anticipate birds, surfing on waves. It's just it's the lakes on the opposite side, and it's actually outside of the flight path. But they're just saying, look, if you guys can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, but if you guys can work with us on making sure that we mitigate that, and we said, yeah, we're happy to.
Yeah, Councilman Bellis has been very involved. It was a good meeting. I haven't brought you up to speed yet.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're aware, but the interim manager is now been hired as the manager moving forward. So Dustin's the guy you'll want to touch base with.
Got it.
Over there, so.
How are you mitigating the birds? Taking a shotgun every few minutes? That's how I would handle it.
And Mike wasn't even there.
Yeah, we've got, the way that the lakes are designed right now, we've got an aeration system that brings water or air up through it that can kind of move the water, but we probably need.
Birds aren't a concern. They're just a concern for people that want to create a concern.
Well, we believe that also, but we're trying to, play in the sandbox nicely with them, so.
Great. Council, any final directive comments that this group can take back?
My question to Manager Red is, what do you recommend? I always like to be involved, sooner than later, and that's why I appreciate you. I like this format. I think it's a good format, so we get involved sooner. And I think we should spend some time, get with Manager Red, explain, get back to you, and maybe have another follow-up to address some of our concerns. I'm not saying pick a date now. It's just something. Is that something?
The sooner rather than later for us. Like we're under construction on Groves Parkway. We just want to get moving. I mean, as you know, the project has sat stagnant for so long. In order for us to generate momentum, it's like, we want to just move this thing forward.
And so do we.
Good.
Move it forward as quickly as they can, but if you can get me your comments and move it forward. But
Commissioner Bullock, did you have anything to add? Commissioner Schill, great questions. Anything you'd add?
The only thing I'm thinking.
Come speak in the mic for just a minute.
Doug Schill. I know a lot of, when you come in for a storage unit, they do studies and they know where to put them. They know they're going to work. Is there studies for such?
On our land planning?
Yeah, on land planning, on a surf park, things like that. I'm concerned about a surf park myself. I think it's pretty grando. I think it's really cool. I can't say that I want to live there, but I think it looks pretty neat. But is it sustainable? Is it going to be sustainable in 5 years, in 10 years, and 15 years?
Good questions. All right. You got the mic. Okay.
My colleagues, I think it's 100% sustainable. Not only do I think it's sustainable, I think it's the future. These surf lakes are popping up all over the world, and it's because the surfers, it provides two values.
I was going to say back in the day, Doug,
Put on some board shorts, we'll get you out there. No, but the technology has gotten to a place where it is so good that it can, with efficiency, produce those waves over and over and over again. And they could do it now economically. They were not able to do that before, but the technology is finally to a place where they can. And surfers, if you just go on YouTube, what they all say is they can practice their tricks and do everything over and over and over and over and over instead of sitting out in the ocean and waiting, 45 minutes or 30 minutes or 15 minutes for the right wave. That's one aspect of it. I think the benefit of this is not just the surfers. It's not. You're going to have 1 million kids that want to be in the water. I mean, we look at this and we're saying we are bringing Balboa Island to the desert. And what I mean by that is you're bringing a beach. You're bringing the ocean, you're bringing water in a way that people just want to walk along it. Mm-hmm. They just want to grab something to eat and feel it and look at it and appreciate it.
And be a part of it.
And be a part of it. And I think in that way, it will accomplish two things. Number one, it will be sustainable. Number two, it will provide an economic boost to our development and to the community that I cannot imagine providing any other way. I really genuinely can't. I cannot think of, and we do this a lot. We've done Cabela's. We have done a 250,000 square foot outlet mall. We have done Adobe. We have brought massive anchors into places that we hope and pray will be this boost, and they are in many ways. Nothing like this. Because who doesn't want to be around the water 24/7? So I think it has absolute longevity and value.
So I got a question for you. It's totally, what does it cost? Like, what do they charge? What?
Oh.
What does it cost to go do the surf park in an existing one?
That we're still going, the economics of what they actually charge, we're going through right now.
Not
Todd,
what
do you
you're
wanna
gonna
talk?
charge. What does another one charge? Do we know? Like, say if I went to
So-
the Texas one or wherever that was, what do
Waco,
they
Texas.
charge?
So there's, Todd, you can speak to it.
There's different technology around the world. So American Wave Machine has kind of come out as the forefront. Surflock is another one. Palm Springs Surf Club, you can look them up. They all have similar ideas but different technology. Kelly Slater, if you've heard of his wave, it looks like a big locomotive on the side. So it's basically just a big wall that pushes water and creates a wave. His is like $500 a wave. So if you jump in the water and you paddle into the wave, whether you catch it or not, you pay $500.
Yeah,
So it's
that,
no, that's what it
that's
is.
what
Yeah,
he's
so-
telling me, yeah.
So he's on the upper end of cost because he was the first one to do it, and his technology is really, really expensive. The power that they have going to it, I mean, just everything that it takes to run it, to maintain it. And it's one machine, so it goes down and then it resets, and then it goes down, resets. These are just, I mean, just imagine like a car engine. They're just pistons that go down, and they just push. It's like a plunger, it pushes the water up and down.
So
So
you're giving
we're
me
thinking
a-
it's gonna be a fraction of that.
You're giving me a political answer. What's the real answer?
It depends.
And I know you don't know,
So,
but
well, so,
I'm sitting here looking at, sounds fun, right?
yeah.
But can I afford to go hang out with my kids there and go surf, right?
Yeah, so the idea is that it'll be by the hour. It's essentially like you're renting out a cabana or something like that. So it could be $500 an hour, it could be $800 an hour. It really depends on what Nelson tells us, because Nelson's whole thing is maintenance, right? Or Nelson, Cloward. When Cloward tells us exactly how to maintain the oxygenation and the chlorination of the water, the systems that are doing that, that's what the cost is, right? So the cost comes from how to maintain that pool, how to maintain the water quality, how to maintain the facilities, all those things. And so it's really gonna be a maintenance cost. But we're looking at it somewhere in that range is what we're hoping to achieve in terms of an hourly. And then you can kind of invite your friends, invite a group, and you reserve it for an hour, and then you can have, 10, 15, 20 people there. Some who will surf, some who just want to observe, some who want to take pictures, whatever. So some that just want to drown.
That's the draw. You build a community around it.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's a sales tax generating use. I mean, that's every wave is taxable. Every dollar they spend to rent a surfboard or to buy a T-shirt or to go eat food or anything. I mean, this will be a pretty big economic engine, not to mention World Surf League and other companies around the world have already expressed interest in holding events. So they'll fly people in, they'll need places to stay. The hotel is a component where you've got nightly rentals surrounding that. Those nightly rental people come and they need to buy food and they need to buy all kinds of things. They want to be entertained, all those things. And so it's really this great economic engine for the entire community. And we think it all supports kind of what the vision is for what the city has. And we think it could be a really great benefit for everybody.
Great. Any final comments? Thank you, gentlemen. We look forward to working with you, and if you feel like we need another round of this before we go through the entitlement process, let me know.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Council, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Coates, second by Bellison. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.